If you woke up tomorrow morning and had the ability to influence the people around you without shouting, without pressure, without pretending, how would your life change? How many times have you felt like no one's really listening? You speak, you explain, you ask, but in the end, nothing changes. And yet, there are people, not necessarily smarter, not louder, who manage to get attention. They lead teams. They inspire. They get a yes where others only hear no. How do they do it? The Leader's Guide to Influence by Mike Clayton doesn't give you a script full of clever tricks. It's something much deeper. It shows you how to become the kind of person that others want to listen to. Because influence doesn't start with what you say. It starts with who you are when you say nothing. If others feel trust, safety, and respect around you, they'll follow you without you having to push. Clayton explains that most people confuse influence with authority. They believe you need to be a manager, a boss, someone with a title to have power. But that's wrong. Real influence has nothing to do with titles. It starts with presence, with consistency, with keeping your word when no one's watching, with showing others that you genuinely care. And when that becomes your mindset, things shift. People start paying attention. They ask for your opinion. They count on you even when you have no formal power over them. Because influence isn't something you force. It's something you earn. But even when people trust you, that's not enough. To truly influence someone, you need to understand how they think. You can't just throw your message into the air and hope it lands. Clayton emphasizes one powerful idea. If you want to influence others, start by listening. Most people don't listen. They wait for their turn to talk. But when you really listen, you start to see something deeper. What are they afraid of? What do they truly want? What motivates them and what shuts them down? Because influence isn't about pushing your ideas. It's about framing your message in a way they can receive it. It's not manipulation, it's empathy in action. You might be saying the exact same thing to two people, but one needs facts, while the other needs reassurance. One needs energy, the other needs calm. If you don't adapt, they'll tune you out, no matter how smart you are. That's why great influencers aren't just good speakers, they're good observers. They sense the room. They know when to speak and when to stay silent. And the more you train yourself to see others, not just your goal, the more natural influence becomes. Not because you're trying to win people over, but because they finally feel like someone understands them. The strange thing about influence is that when it works, you often don't see it. It's not flashy. It doesn't come with applause. More often, it's quiet, subtle, but powerful. Real influence shows up in the smallest shifts. When someone who never spoke starts sharing their thoughts. When a team that seemed disconnected suddenly leans in. When a person looks at you with that expression that says, "I hear you, I trust you." And that's when you realize something important. You don't have to change the whole world to be influential. You just have to change how you approach the people around you. Clayton explains that the path to influence is built on three core foundations: authenticity, consistency, and purpose. If you're the same person in front of others, and when no one is watching, if you don't shift your personality depending on who's in the room, if what you do has meaning, and it's not just about appearances, then sooner or later, you'll start to have real impact. Because people don't follow perfect leaders, they follow real ones. And the more you align with who you truly are, the stronger your voice becomes. Not because you shout louder, but because others can hear you more clearly. There comes a point where influence stops being a technique and becomes almost invisible. It's no longer something you try to do, it's something you are. You don't have to think, "How can I convince them?" Because you naturally project something people respond to. And that something is self-awareness. The person who truly influences others knows who they are. They know what they believe. They may not have all the answers, but they know why they keep walking. They don't speak to impress. They speak when they have something real to say. They don't chase approval. They gain it, precisely because they don't depend on it. Clayton puts it clearly. The more you understand yourself, the less you need to control others. And that's powerful, because you stop trying to be someone else. You stop fearing rejection. And at that moment, you become exactly what makes influence possible in the first place. Human. Not a role, not a mask, not a tactic. Influence doesn't belong to the loudest people or the smartest. It belongs to those who dare to stand still inside their own truth. If you want to become that kind of person, don't look for tricks. Build yourself. Keep your space clean, your body strong, your mind calm. And when the time comes, you'll speak. And your voice will carry Dirk, not because it's loud, but because it's real. There's something most people don't tell you when they talk about influence. It comes with responsibility. Once you begin to influence others, whether you intend to or not, your words start to matter. Your actions are noticed. Your decisions begin to affect people's lives. And this is where influence separates itself from manipulation. Yes, you can convince someone to do what you want. But if you're doing it purely for your own gain, without considering the other person, then that's not influence. That's exploitation. Mike Clayton reminds us that every form of influence must pass through the filter of ethics. Is what I'm saying honest? Does this benefit only me, or also the person in front of me? If I were in their position, would I feel respected? These questions are what separate true leaders from players. It's easy to play with words, to manipulate, to win, to rise, but it's something else entirely to build trust that lasts. Because the world doesn't need more clever manipulators. It needs genuine people with a conscience. And if you want to be one of them, then don't measure your success by how many yeses you get. Measure it by how much good you left behind every time you influence someone. If you've made it all the way to the end, just know this: well done. In a world where everything moves fast, where people rush and skip, you took the time to sit, to listen, to think. And that alone means something. It shows that you have something inside you, something not everyone has. The desire to be just a little better than yesterday. If this video gave you something, even just a small insight, a moment where you thought, that's true, then we'd be really grateful if you gave it a like. Because every bit of support gives us the strength to keep going. If you feel like it, drop us a comment, even just a simple, "I'm here." Why? Because yes, it helps the algorithm, but more importantly, it reminds us we're not speaking into the void. And if you felt this content has value, consider subscribing. Because here, we're not chasing views. We're building a community, slowly, steadily, with people like you. Thank you for being here. And until next time, stay real, stay grounded, and never stop building yourself.